Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Prodigy from Kilo23. Today we've got an interesting review for you guys. It's probably one you're not going to see too often. This is a gun that I've actually personally never seen on the field. I highly doubt most of you have, and it's a really cool looking gun. But before I get to that, the winners of the little contest I put up, Travis Weeb, well, dude, you posted on the YouTube channel, but I'm still going to give you a shout out. You got it right. It's the Echo 1 ZB30. Also, Mr. Isaac Hanna, you got it right as well. It's always fun airsofting with you. I hope to see you out on the field soon, man. You got it right, too. So, today we are checking out the Echo 1 ZB30. This is a hefty gun. It weighs at a wonderfully heavy 13.5 pounds. Now, yeah, for a lot of like real steel, light, and heavy machine guns, that's nothing. But this is an airsoft gun. It's got faux wood parts. It's got a very front-heavy design. My left arm's going to get really heavy or tired holding this, and it's a really interesting gun. Not a lot of guns out there like it. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is the only airsoft replica of the ZB30 out there. And not a lot of people really have it. It's kind of a rare gun in the airsoft world. So I've been looking for a light or heavy machine gun, something to pick up just for fun. And I found a fantastic deal on this, and I figured I just couldn't pass it up. So I picked one up, and it was kind of just a split-second whim. I'm like, okay, what the heck, I'm just going to do it. I'm glad I did, because this thing I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with. So let's get checking this guy out. Now, before we get talking about the gun too much, let's just get out of the way everything that it comes with. It's going to come with your usual 9.6 mini battery. It's an 1100 milliamp hour. It's not very powerful. The rate of fire on it is rather slow. It's like between 10 and 12 a second. So probably want to get a LiPo of some kind to power this gun to be a little more trigger responsive and fast. Comes with a standard wall charger with a mini Type 2 connector. Please guys, go to your local store and grab a smart charger. You're probably not going to pay any more than 30 or 40 bucks. That 30 or 40 bucks is a great investment. So scrap this and go get a smart charger. You're going to get a winding key. Now this is actually super important. Most of the time I say, nah, just throw it aside, because most of your high cap's going to have that winding wheel on the bottom with little gear teeth on it. The mags for this don't. So you do need a hex key or a winding key. The winding key actually makes it really, really easy. So keep this around. Don't throw it out. Your Echo 1 warranty card, fill this out, send it in, make sure you're covered in case you have any issues with your gun. A super long cleaning rod. The barrel being 650 millimeters long, you do need a pretty long cleaning rod, and it's always nice to have an extra long one around just in case. And finally, the magazine. These guys hold a whopping 650 rounds. Just what you need for a support gun. It's going to have this little hatch on the top here where you just slide it back. Pop it forward, click it in your gun, and you've got a little hole here on the side to wind it. There is no winding wheel like I had mentioned just a second ago, so you do need to keep that key around to wind it. Or if you lose it, an Allen key of, I think it's 2.5 mil or 3 mil, somewhere around there, will work just fine. Now we can continue onward with the ZB30. This is actually based on a really old design. This particular model came out in 1930. It's based on the ZB26, which had a couple of different components to it. Visually they're practically the same. The real steel one you're probably going to notice has a silver or chrome gas tube here, or a gas piston tube, whatever you want to say. Obviously the airsoft one is black. I kind of like that better if it were chrome. I'm not sure I would have hopped on it. I'm not a huge like chrome guy. I like it on barrels. There's random parts in the gun I'm not super keen on, but I'm picky like that, I suppose. And I do want to mention, just before we get going, that I'm not going to chrono this gun today. I will just say it shoots a really hot 440 feet per second or so out of the box. It came with an M130 spring installed, which is way too hot to run for a support gun on most fields out there. So I went ahead and dropped a 120 spring, and it was a little older spring, and I got it down to about 390 feet per second. And running that on a 7.4 or 11.1, I'm getting anywhere from maybe 12 to 17 rounds a second or so. So reasonable rate of fire. I'll probably just run an 11.1 on it for a while until I pop a MOSFET in there, which I'll probably do soon enough anyway. But just be aware that out of the box stock, it shoots really hot. So you might not be able to use this as is on a lot of fields. Alright, let's start with the back of the gun and move our way forward. The stock on this guy is obviously where the battery is going to be held. To access that battery compartment, pull the little arm up here, and just pull the entire assembly off. Really, really simple. In the back, you're going to get a mini Tamiya connector, but I've already installed Deans on here because all my batteries are Deans already. Now, please note, in the stock, there really isn't enough room for a large type battery. You can probably fit LiPos all you want in there, maybe a 9.6 custom, but a large 8.4 or 9.6 is not going to fit. It's not quite wide enough, and it's not nearly long enough. You do get a couple of sling loops on the gun. One is on the side here, it just spins freely, and the other two are going to be on the barrel and bipod up front here, so you can clip it to either if you want, I suppose. Moving up the gun a little bit, the receiver has most of what's going to be happening on the gun. On the right side, this is heavy, holding it with one hand like this. It's got your charging handle, little spring behind it. It really doesn't do anything, it's just there for show. That's really about it on the right side of the gun, aside from all the really actually cool trades you get. You get the Echo 1 logo on the top and the side, and you get the little ZB30 logo there and some extra markings on pretty much the entire back half of the gun. There's a lot of little markings everywhere. Now on the opposite side of the gun, you've got your fire selector, safe and full auto. There's the only two options on it. So safe, obviously you can't pull the trigger. Full auto, you can shoot all the 650 rounds to your heart's content or the other guy's hint. The pistol grip on this, like the stock, is faux wood. It is kind of fat feeling, and it's a kind of an odd angle, so if you like just straight down pistol grips, which this pretty much is, it takes some getting used to. It's very different feeling. Now, we do have the rear sight adjustment here. This big dial on the left is meant to adjust your rear sight up and down for elevation, and windage is controlled by this little knob on the left side. Now, the magazine is probably one of the most unusual things on this gun. Because it is inserted right top and center, the sights are actually going to be offset to the left about a half an inch or an inch or so. So they aren't just straight down the barrel sights. It takes some getting used to, and to be completely honest, this is a really awkward gun for left-handed shooters. So if you're lefty and you're shooting it like this, you're going to have to really lean over, way over the stock, and try and sight this thing, which is just not realistic. So it's really a righty-friendly gun, not a lefty-friendly gun. Now, installing your magazine on this gun is a little bit different. You've got a dust cover here that you can push forward, and this cover is actually where your magazine is going to pop into. So roll it in, kind of like an AK, and it just pops in there. Now to release it, tab on the back, roll forward, and it pops right out. Your hop-up is going to be in here. You can adjust it from the opposite side, which is a little unusual. There's a port in here, and I'm actually going to get a little bit of better close-up on here so you can see that, that dial in there. It is a large rotary dial. It's about an inch, a little more long, and it's a pretty easy to adjust hop-up dial. Now, something you guys are probably wondering about is this large lever on the side here. This is actually to remove and swap out the outer barrel. Now, this is obviously not a real one, so it has an inner barrel, a brass inner barrel, and that is still going to be present. It doesn't actually come out like an M249 per se with this gun. So honestly, I would ignore this lever unless you're just dying to reenact World War II or something. But you do flip this up and the barrel can slide out. It is a little cumbersome. To get it back in, you do have to line up the notch and everything. And I've got just kind of a short clip here to show you guys that. I'm not going to do it right here as I'm talking though, because it's kind of a pain to do and there's no real reason to. Even during disassembly, the hop-up actually comes out of the back of the gun, so there's no real need to at any time. Now the carry handle on this is actually really sturdy. It is metal on metal, so it's not going to break or anything like that. You just carry it, faux wood carry handle. It's got some O-rings in here, so it squeaks. And it kind of free floats side to side, and it's got a limiter on either side, so it can't fully turn around the barrel. It's only got about a 90-degree range of motion or so on the barrel. Now the bipod, actually, this is kind of my disappointment on this. It didn't lock into place anywhere. I didn't do my research on the gun before I bought it as far as just the features like that. So it does kind of swing every which way. It does have a locking clamp here that you can release and it will spring open. And so this will come out and you just kind of set it down wherever you need to. Probably during play I'm going to end up removing this, that and the carry handle. That'll relieve the gun of a couple of pounds of metal right there, which make it that much lighter. And up front, you do have the front sight here. This is actually not adjustable for windage or elevation. It's completely fixed. So all that is going to be done from the rear sight alone. And the flash hider here, you are going to originally get a plastic orange flash hider, but I've actually installed a metal one on here for a little bit more realism. Alright, that about covers the externals of the Echo 1 ZB30. it is a really hefty gun. So let's go ahead and get inside of the gun and check out the gearbox, the barrel, the motor, and everything that really makes this gun work inside. The barrel and hop-up chamber are actually kind of interesting. You're obviously going to get a proprietary hop-up, and I'll talk about that in a second here. But the barrel is brass, and it's very long at 650 millimeters. ZB30 is going to have a metal hop-up chamber, and it's pretty sturdy, so I wouldn't worry about having any issues with it. It uses a rotary-style wheel here, and it kind of gets a little bit of feedback when you turn it, kind of like a clicking noise. It doesn't do it for the entire spin, so I'm not sure if it's completely intentional or not. It's pretty sturdy. It's not going to unwind when you're shooting it, of course. And it does feed from the top like this, so this is actually how it's oriented in the gun. Inside the chamber, you do get the Mad Bull orange bucking, and it puts quite a bit of hop on the BB, so I'm not concerned about not having enough hop or range or accuracy issues, because out of the box, this should actually be pretty accurate with all the parts in it. The gearbox here is, well, to put it lightly, interesting. It's very beefy. I don't think you'll ever have any issues with it as far as like gearbox cracking or anything like that, because it's got a lot of beef behind it. The motor, everything, there's no motor cage, it's all integrated in, so actually to get your motor out, get anything out, you do have to open it up. So let's go ahead and do that. Gearbox actually looks really familiar as far as all the parts go. Pretty beefy spring in it there. Nothing too different or what you wouldn't expect in this. Looks like a version 2 trigger switch. Has its own trigger, of course, here. Really standard looking long type motor, gear set. A lot of things are pretty standard in this. To my knowledge, the nozzle, cylinder head, and tappet plate are a little bit different, but as far as I can tell, that's about it as far as what's unusual in this gun. Now, this is a standard type motor. Obviously a long type with a D-hole pinion there. Nothing really special about it, to be honest. Standard torque, nothing too special. Now the spring here is a standard linear type spring. Just by feeling it, I'd say it's about a 120 or 130 power or so. So obviously this gun's probably going to be shooting a little bit hotter than most field limits, so I'll probably end up dropping a softer spring in here. The piston is not too special. It has the speed rails on the sides, so a little bit of plastic cut out there. It has a vented piston head with 6 vents there. Second to last tooth is removed, and it's got one metal tooth. Your tappet plate is actually going to be proprietary because it sits a little bit higher on the cylinder head here. And believe it or not, I know it looks like an M14 cylinder head. It's actually not. I tried a spare M14 cylinder head I had on here, version 7, and the height is a little off by maybe 3 millimeters or so, so it doesn't quite work. So the nozzle, cylinder head, and tappet plate are going to be proprietary on this. For any reason you do have issues with them, the Echo One parts shop and several online stores do have spare parts, and I'm sure your local store can get those pretty easily as well. Cylinder it comes with is a Type 0 cylinder, so there are no ports in it, and it is a brass cylinder. Now, you do get a standard set of gears here, interchangeable with anything version 2, version 3 compatible. I went ahead and cleaned everything, got all the grease off, so I'm going to re-grease it in a minute and re-shim it, so all the shims are gone. That's why it sounds so grindy right now when I spin these. You do get kind of the elongated tap delayer here, kind of like a sector chip, but it's built in almost. Normal, I believe the letters on here are CH. So, just a regular old gear set. And you do get a standard version 2 trigger switch in this, which is kind of nice. So there's no proprietary like micro switch or weird trigger switch in here. You can swap this out with a super high-end MOSFET if you want to that's built into the trigger switch. You can wire a new MOSFET into this. You can put any brand in here. It's really nice actually having just a regular version 2 trigger switch in a gun like this. Now the contacts actually look pretty decent. Sometimes, you know, the contacts can be hit or miss, but this one actually looks rather good as far as how it contacts the trigger shuttle there, so I'm happy with that. Now, the wiring in here is actually a little unique as far as how it's laid out in a gearbox. Now, it is internal, kind of like a version 2, so kind of goes along with the theme there. Thankfully, it's not external like a version 3. Getting that into this body would kind of be interesting. So it's laid out in a little trench here along the bottom, and there's just enough room there for the standard 18 gauge wire that's in here, which is plenty. If you try to fit 16 gauge in there, you're probably going to crush some stuff. You might have to Dremel it out. Lastly, you do get 8mm bearings in this. If you want, you can swap those out for ceramic bearings, standard 8mm bushings, whatever you want to do. They're completely interchangeable with other parts as well. After checking out the gearbox, just overall with the gun, I'm actually really happy with it. It is a pretty hefty price tag on the gun. Normally it's just under $500, which is a lot of money for one of these. A lot of websites do have them on sale, and if you possibly can, see if your local store can get it. They probably can get you a really good deal on it right now. So check with them if you're interested in getting one of these. But for the money, it's a fun gun. You're not going to find any other player probably on the field that has one, because no one really has one. They're a pretty rare gun. They're easily to get, but no one has gotten them yet. And they've been out for a couple of years on the airsoft market. There's no reason for them not to really be out. But I feel like I'm probably going to be one of the few guys, if not the only guy, running this on the field, which I'm really interested to see how it performs. This long 650mm barrel, I'm expecting this guy to have some range, especially with that Mad Bull bucking. I'm expecting some pretty good accuracy. And since I'm just hitting a little under 400 feet per second, about 390, 389, it's a really consistent gun as far as the FPS goes. At shot to shot, it's only like a 1 to 2 FPS difference every shot. It's really good. I'm expecting some pretty good performance out of it. Now, I do have a total of 3 mags for it, so I've got just under 2,000 rounds of fun time when I'm out there in the field. And because it is a full auto only gun, I'm really curious to see what I can do with it. So this weekend, I'm going to go out to Paintball Station in Mount Vernon, Washington. Hopefully I'll see you guys out there if you're local. If you're not, I'll have some gameplay footage for you. It's the first time I'm going to have a chance to use both of my GoPros, so one on the gun and one on my head. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm really looking forward to that. As usual, I do give this a grade. I'm going to give it a solid 8.5. There are a couple things I didn't like. One thing was I did get some loose screws when I got it in the box. So I did have to tighten those down, and I Loctited them as well. There's a couple of screws under the gas tube here that were just completely loose. And I tightened those down. It's not a problem. They just need a hex key and a little bit of Loctite, and you're fine. The charging handle, it screws in basically, and it was a little loose. So same there, I did have to tighten it down and Loctite it down a little bit. The weight, naturally it's a heavy gun, and I don't have the beefiest arms in the world, so it's not perfect, but it's just inherent to the gun. It's not really a flaw. I do wish there was a real wood kit out there. I would absolutely purchase it for this gun just because it's a fantastic replica. It's just a mean-looking gun. It's not maybe the most attractive thing in the world, but it's a really, really fun gun so far. I do wish it had a wood kit. I would totally buy it. Even if it's a few $100, it'd be worth it. But aside from that, I really can't find any fault in the gun. It did, out of the box, shoot a little too hot for most fields, so that's something that people might have to downgrade to actually make it feel legal for them. But aside from those things, it's a great gun. Echo 1, they've always been really fantastic. I've never had a gun from them that I disliked at all. I've always had really, really great success with Echo 1. And this is no exception. The ZB30, definitely worth the money, and it's going to be a fun gun on the field. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Prodigy from Kilo 23. I hope you guys come back soon and check out all the gameplay footage I'm going to get with this. I'm really looking forward to getting some fun trigger time with it. So hopefully I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Take it easy.